What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel, Retro Stash Repairs. My name is Miguel. I have today a Gameboy Micro that I got online for parts. I actually got it on Mercari. Let's go ahead and open it up. So the deal with this micro motherboard, actually it was just the motherboard and the screen. I just had it sitting on my desk for a couple weeks now. Hadn't gone around to looking at it to see if I can fix it. But here's the screen. Now the problem with this was, let's go ahead and look at the listing. Okay, the problem with this one, obviously, as y'all can see, this is detached, and that's actually repairable. But also, as y'all can see in the picture of the listing, the screen is all screwed up, doesn't work correctly, and the listing says this listing is for the motherboard and LCD. It turns on, but the image is distorted, and start and select PCB tore off, but I will include it in any case if you wanted to reconnect it. For parts, as it does have a lot of reusable components, but you could possibly fix it if you have the expertise. Well, that's what we're going to try to do today, to try to fix this. But surprisingly, the biggest issue with this motherboard is not, this ripped off. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Is not the little piece of PCB ripped off the board. This is a part that controls the start and select. Also, it has the LEDs showing, when the system is on. But the main issue is, and I already looked into it when I first received it, is that the screen, it's all distorted, different colors, lines on the screen. And when I got it, I was hoping it was just the LCD, but it is not, because I tried another LCD and it does the exact same thing. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate for y'all guys today that. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to a battery. You can see it actually was already on, but there you go. And just for demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and connect another LCD to it. Alright, I have the other screen right here. Go ahead and take it out. It's a brand new aftermarket one, so here's the old OEM one. Here's the new aftermarket one. Let's see. Same thing. This one's mostly all black, but y'all can see where it's still lit up, trying to work, but this one has vertical lines instead of horizontal. So there's definitely something wrong with the PCB, not the screen. And previously I've already tested, this is brand new, so of course it works. And I've already tested the OIM one, and it works as well, just fine. Both of those screens work. What doesn't work is this PCB. So what I'm going to ultimately have to do, and my biggest guess, there's going to be a problem like corrosion. And I know there's for sure corrosion, just you can tell from the back on some of these traces. So what I'm going to do is remove the cart reader and remove the screen ZIF connector off. And in order to remove that, I'll have to remove the cartridge reader first, and then heat it up from the bottom and remove the ZIF connector. If not, it'll just melt right off if I try to put direct heat on top of that. So I'm going to start off with removing the cartridge and the ZIF connector as well, so we can take a good look under there. Alright, that's finally off. It takes a while to take these off, quite a bit of heat. Go ahead and clean it with IPA. Alright, and if y'all haven't noticed yet, I got a new soldering silicone mat, so I'll have a new background for all my videos now, and a better workspace as well. I'm still using the cardboard though, I just don't really want it to get this too dirty or anything, but I mean, because this still will burn eventually, but I mean, we'll just take extreme heat, but I mean, I'd rather keep the area clean. and I'll probably use it when I'm soldering a bigger PCB or something. And that's probably why I got to invest in a PCB holder as well. But what I'm going to do now is remove this side, the ZIF connector, so I'll have to reheat it underneath. So I'll have to get that set up where it's on the edge of the table, because like I said, I don't have a PCB holder or anything. So I'll start working on that. All right, well, I have it set up now. What I ended up having to do is put the cardboard on the end of the table, then the PCB at the end, taped up so I can heat it from underneath. And tape doesn't stick to silicone that very well, so I just put it holding with some wire strippers right there. So I'll go ahead and get started trying it out, because I have tried it before and it works, but I've never attempted it while recording. Finally got it off. Now noticing as well, the charging port started to fall down, so I'll have to fix that at the end. Want to wait until it cools down a little bit and then reposition everything. Alright, I have position again. Now just clean up the area with some IPA. Alright, I'm done now. So what I'm going to do, which I'm going to have to do off camera, is check every single little trace. Just a quick look to see if I find anything right off the back that, goes to the back. What I'm so hoping for is, I'm hoping that there isn't a problem with one of these traces that lead to this CPU. If not, that's going to be a lot harder to fix. But, maybe not impossible. I'll just need to be very careful, and then, you basically have to reball this as well. But I'll have to look at it. I'll have to take a quick look off camera, and if it's, starts to take too long, then what I'll start doing right off the back is, connect some wires and reconnect this so I can keep on testing, make sure it's still powering on and everything, as well as, reposition this back and see if it's even charging, because I noticed there's corrosion right here, and I fixed other micros where these traces were water damaged as well, and it caused either the system not to turn on or not to charge. And because these traces underneath right here, that I see some apparent damage as well, lead to this Mitsumi chip, which is like the same chip that's on the SP motherboard. So I'll go ahead and look at some traces really quick, and then I'll be back. Alright, after inspecting it for a while, I noticed that most of the traces that lead to the ZIF connector are basically hidden within the board. It's these right here, these first two, which I'm not sure which one would it be. I'm sure is in charge of lighting up the backlight. These right here go right here, and then the rest, like all these, some of these go into some components up here. The edges go to ground. And demonstrate that real quick. That goes to ground. This one right here goes to ground. This one right here. And basically the rest go into basically like a sandwich, which is a third layer, because these micros, I'm pretty sure it's a third layer PCB. So, it's the top layer, the bottom layer, and then sandwich in the middle, there's a third layer. And that's where it gets a lot more complicated. See, because there's these down here. Here, I'll try to get it a little closer. These right here go to this other side, somewhere around here. And there's really not much damage there. But these, on the other hand, all these right here, which go into the third layer, you turn it over, and there's really bad water damage in here, which I'm sure all that copper inside and traces is pretty much corroded when you see stuff like this. See, here's another example of corrosion. Not sure if this matters or not, but probably not. My biggest guess and suspicion is these traces that go sandwiched in the third layer that go to the ZIF connector are basically shot, and all it takes is one or two to screw the whole thing up. So that's what I'm pretty sure is wrong with it, and that's where it gets a lot more complicated. I have no idea where these goes. I haven't really worked on these all that much. I've only fixed like 2 or 3, maybe 4 now, but I've never really ran across this problem before, and I really don't know where to go from there, except I have another board that I never was able to fix, because I found out that the CPU was pretty much damaged, or you know, pretty much fried, because when I first received this, I got it for a pretty decent price as well, and I've already used a couple of components, as you can see. There's one missing right there, and the battery connector, the cart reader, and the charging port. But yeah, and the start and select ribbon cable is all already attached as well. And I had put this back on there, but I also found out, when I was working on this one, that this part right here is also in charge of powering up the system, and I'm not sure what else, but it also, this specific chip right here does not work. So what I'm thinking is maybe I can put the CPU on this one as well as this chip over here on this other board and see if it works, which I'll also need another sector for the backlight as well. But if I can manage to do that, then I'll be pretty happy with the result. I mean, it'll take another whole PCB, but at least I'll get my money's worth on being able to have one fully working, and keep this one for parts, which, putting this back together on it won't matter anymore. But so that's pretty much it right now. I'm going to go ahead and remove the CPU on this. Before that, though, I also want to mention I will have to reball this, which I might do off camera. There's a couple of balls on there I'll have to redo. There's this one right there, this one, and I think that's it for now. I have to clean up that ball a little bit, but I'll have to reball those two and then put this CPU on there. And I'll be using a different kind of flux today, just because with experience I found this one flows a lot more. And I've also seen people use that paste kind, but I don't really have that paste. Alright, so I'm done taking off the components now. I went ahead and removed all the ones I'm going to need. And when I was removing this one, I noticed a couple of the balls, didn't lift as nicely as I wish they could have. So I have to reball them, being careful not to mess any others up, as well as reball these, the ones I had mentioned earlier, and then get the rest of the components. As well, I'm also going to have to add for now the battery connector. The charging port can wait. And then take this one off as well, and then add that one. And I can probably go ahead and add the ZIF connector as well. So I'm going to need another one. And that's pretty much it. So I'll get started on all those. And I like to use Kapton tape for a lot of my things to cover up any other components I want to protect, to help protect. I've seen on other videos, they use thermal paste, which that will also work, probably even better. But I don't have that right now, so sometimes you just got to use what you have and hope for the best. Alright, I went ahead and started reballing off camera because this is way too tiny. I mean, if I had better special equipment to record this, I would, but I really don't. So I have to be looking at it really close. Also use some magnifying glasses with the light to help me look closer. But I noticed on that one that didn't work, which was this one. There's a ball, that kind of lifted the pad. I'm not sure if that really matters or not, what was wrong with it, but it doesn't matter anymore because I'm not going to be using this board, but just thought I'd like to point that out. So I'm going to have to solder that off carefully and then reball that point. Alright, now I have both of them reballed. So go ahead and give it a little clean with IPA, then add more flux, and then I'll try to get it on. Man, I surely do hope it works. This is the first time I do any chips with balls in them. So I was going to be super excited if I managed to get it working. And that's if anything else is wrong with the board that I wouldn't know about besides the CPU. But I mean, I already tested out the Mitsumi PMIC chip, and it had worked. I had just put it back on here, and this one, this component works because this other one we tested out earlier worked except for the screen. So I will have to put another zip connector for the backlight, but right now, as long as it turns on when I'm finished, that's all we have to worry about. And then I'll have to worry about getting that zip connector on there. I think that grabbed on. Now I just gotta let it cool down for a little bit, clean it with IPA, and then get that battery connector on the other side put on. Now I'm gonna put on the battery connector. I got some new ones right here. Slightly off center, but I think they'll be fine for now. That wasn't the best installation, but I'm soldering it on there, but it will do. As long as it's, it's pretty strong on there on both sides, and the contacts on the solder pads are connecting, then it should be fine. I think that's everything for now to see if it will turn on or not. I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to let it dry for a little bit and then finally attempt to see if it turns on or not. Alright, so now I'm going to test it. Here comes the moment of truth. I can only hope for the best. Connect the battery. Alright, here we go. No, it's not doing anything. Dang it. Oh, that's a bummer. Dang it. I wonder if I didn't seat this correctly. I might try that again. This should be good on there. I mean, I could just feel how it like sat down, so I highly doubt it would be the CPU. But you never know. I mean, this is the first time changing out a CPU on a micro. probably be easier to, take one and put one on the one that works, but I don't see why you would want to do that in the first place. Unless to practice, but it would have to be like on a super cheap console. Maybe a DS Lite or something. Man. I wonder if there's power even going to this battery connector. I think this is the first time I use one. I'm not sure, I don't remember. I'm gonna go ahead and check the power switch as well. So go ahead and get my meter. Change it to volts. So go ahead and test it without the battery. As expected, nothing. Now to connect the battery. And if I don't get anything, then I know it's the battery connector. I mean, it's the right spec, exactly the same size, so it should work. Let's go ahead and test it now. There. Now I'm getting a reading. So it's not the battery connector. Let's go ahead and check the power. Let's go ahead and test it on continuity mode. I'm at the power switch. So there's continuity there. And continuity there. So it's not the power switch. Man. Let's go ahead and see if anything happens when I connect it. Test that battery. Test that power switch. With the battery connected. So there, it's off. Change it to volts. Nothing. Now let's see when I turn it on. Nothing as well. So the power is not even reaching the power switch. I'm not sure what's going on. If anything, I'd have to trace voltage from the two terminals from the battery, from those two pads. Keep testing voltage, trying to trace it back. Either that or just start randomly, switching out components. But it would be pretty hard to trace, voltage throughout components because, the micro is super tiny. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. For sure, I'm going to just start by trying to push this down soldering. It might be that, I'm not sure, but I'll have to stop there for today and probably continue with it tomorrow. Then probably make a decision on where, after trying this, where to keep going after that. But man, theoretically it should work because this PCB has no, basically has no corrosion anywhere. So now I'm suspecting there's a bad part somewhere besides the CPU. We know the CPU works. We know this component works. So there must be something else going on. I might try changing out the Mitsumi chip, although because I know this one works. But this one, as I remembered, I tried it on another PCB and it worked. But the PCB I tried it on was an SP because they use the same chip. But I mean, what the heck? I'll probably give it a try either way. I mean, other than that, I wouldn't see where else there can be a fault. Because I like of the traces themselves, there's really no corrosion on this board. And on this one, it works, it powers on. I remember testing out if it played a game, it actually does, but the screen, it's just not going to work, and it's going to be almost impossible to fix this because it's those traces that lead to the ZIF connector are sandwiched in the third layer, which is hidden from us. So, but I'll continue working on it tomorrow and then get back to it after that. All right, guys, welcome back. After a day and a few hours working on it, I finally have some results. So what I ultimately ended up doing is taking off this CPU chip once more because I had taken off from the board that I know worked, but has that screen problem. Basically impossible to repair because of all that corrosion and PCB damage. So I put that one on here, and after reballing it and putting it on, I tested the batteries with the working battery. Still wasn't turning on. I went ahead and tested it, see if at least the screen is turning on, and connected a speaker to it. It still wasn't doing anything. So I was pretty disappointed. So what I went ahead and did is retook the CPU chip off. Or actually, before I did that, I noticed inside there's a couple of balls on the edges that weren't soldered on properly. It's like when I soldered on, they're just completely missing. I don't know why. But so I went ahead and redid it, took it off, reballed everything nice again, and tried to turn it on. Still same thing. No power, no lights, no nothing. But I went ahead and, I was like, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and test the screen and speaker to it. And it actually worked this time. So I know it's turning on. So there's a problem with the PCB, ribbon cable start and select board. So it's basically almost the same thing as this one where it's ripped off. If you can tell right here, it looks kind of ripped, but without being completely ripped off. So now I know there's a problem of connection between the small PCB and the big board itself. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate, that it works. But I was so happy to find that out. I'm like, oh my gosh, because it was such a pain, especially doing it twice. And, to reball everything. Here's the old chip. And that confirms this chip is bad. Because before, in the past when I had worked on this one, I had tested the speaker and the screen as well, and nothing was working at all, even after replacing this chip right here. So actually, these two chips were bad, the original ones. But the one from this board that was partially working, they were good. I know they work good, and now they're on this board, and this board is working good, except for that PCB, which I'm gonna have to run some wires to the right traces from the tiny PCB to the big PCB. So go ahead and connect the screen. Now, one thing's for sure, it does need that backlight ZIF connector, this tiny one right here. So there's not going to be backlight, but that's pretty obvious because it's not put on the board yet. I'll be doing that shortly. So there, it's turning on the speaker. Keeps, since the speaker is a magnet, it just keeps getting stuck to the screen. All right. Yes. So now I know it's working now. That's awesome. Great news. Now I have to wait and see if it'll play games, it'll charge, everything. But, I mean, I had to remove this one and used it elsewhere. The what's it called? The charging port. But, so I have this new one. I'll just remove this one and put it on here. Let's see what else is missing. Of course, the cartridge reader. I'll have to do a little bit of repair on this pin right here because it slightly got lifted. Just scratch a little bit of the surface on the PCB and add some solder on there. But yeah, I'm really happy where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and first off, I have to get another ZIF connector, which I'm gonna use, from a damaged, broken DSi board. There's two on here that I can use. Basically work the same way. So I'll remove one of these, put it on the micro board, and then move on with everything else. All right, after poking around, doing some testing, yeah, there's no continuity. I know these points, these traces right here, at least most of them go to the small PCB. And, testing everything out. I know one of these two is for start and select. Still getting nothing. So one of these two is for start and select. Just get it on there. And I'm not sure if this side start or this side is, but yeah, I should have gotten a beep right there somewhere. Same thing with the other trace. Still nothing. The LED ones, I believe the left side is blue and the right side right here is red. Still nothing. So yeah, this is definitely not connected. And I went ahead and tested out the ground. It's connected, so once I connect it to the ground over here, I'll probably have just scratching a little area off over here. But other than that, I'm just gonna, scratch some of these hole traces and connect wires and then go from there. Try to find some of the smallest wires I could find just are still not, you know, ideally thin for this, but it's something that will work for now. All right, and just to show y'all guys an example, here's a fully working motherboard. I'm gonna go ahead and test out the points. See, that one works. That's a start. I mean, of course it's gonna work. It's a fully working motherboard. But just to show that there's continuity, that's either the other side of either start or select. The blue LED. Yep, there's continuity there. And then ground. Yep, ground. Go ahead and test it to the ground. It works. So I'm confident this one will work as well after I connect those wires. So I'll basically have to end up doing the same thing I was going to do on that other board. But, you know, that screen problem, it was just, I was at a total loss right there. There may be permanent damage in that third layer. But I'm really happy how this is going so far. So now to connect those wires. Right, well, I'm actually going to have to do that off camera because it's really tiny and I can barely see it. So I'm going to have to get up pretty close. And then maybe once I scratch everything off, then I'll solder it on again. Alright, so I went ahead and scratched the points I needed to. You can barely tell on camera. So this one would be the this one right here would be the blue LEDs. The top one, the red LEDs, and they're both connected on the same side, so to each other. So you can either do both on the same side or just one from opposite side. But the bottom ones are the blue and the top ones are the red. This is select, this is start, and then that's the ground. This is the blue, this is a red, this is select, and that is start, I believe. And then this one over here is ground. So now it's time to connect the wiring. But before that, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-tin everything with solder. Sorry about the dog barking. think I have all these right now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to continue doing this off camera and then be back when I'm all done. I can barely see, but I'll be back. Alright, so I'm done now with that. It looks kind of messy, but it would have helped if I would have had even thinner wire, but I mean, this is the thinnest I can find that I have. I'll just have to find a way for those not to move at all. I'll have to clean it with some IPA, but let's go ahead and test it out. Hopefully it works this time. Yes. Not sure if that's low battery or what, but they're turning on now and it works. So there definitely wasn't, this was definitely pretty much torn off as well. But yes, that's awesome. It's turning on. So now the next step is to connect that the ZIF connector for the backlight. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and connect the cartridge reader, see if it reads games, and in the end, connect the charging port and see if it charges. Alright, now that I have the ZIF connector, I'm going to take off from the DSI bad PCB. I'm going to go ahead and take it off and then put it on the micro. well, I'm done now putting the ZIF connector back on there. Now I'll have to test it out and see if it works. If it happens to not work, I'll have to battery's connected. I have to put the soldering iron to it while it's on just to see what's not making connection. Could have gone on each little trace, a little pin on the ZIF connector to see if there's continuity, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm trying to finish this as fast as I can now. Alright, moment of truth. Oh, yes. The screen looks pretty faded, but I'm sure that's just can easily be fixed by moving this component over here, the potentiometer. But it always looks brighter on camera than it does in real life. But yes, it works now. On to the next step, to connect the cartridge reader, and then I'll move on from there. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll have to scratch some of this surface off so that can reconnect. Not sure how important that is, but it's slightly lifted off the board, that last pad on there. Go ahead and clean up that old solder. Use the bigger soldering tip to remove the old solder. I'll have to redo this one. Didn't clean off as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and check the continuity on that, make sure it's in contact with that part of the board where it's supposed to be at. Nope, I'm not getting anything. Okay. Okay, it is in contact. All right, so that's connected. Now I'm gonna clean the cartridge reader. It's a little dirty. Clean it with some IPA. Dry it a little bit without dropping it. Alright, so now just go ahead and flux this up and get it soldered on. What I like to do is get the sides first, since I don't have 3 hands. Take a little bit of solder. Put it on with some tweezers if I'm able to. Keeps getting stuck to it because of the flux. And do the same thing to each side. Make sure it's nice and flat. Go ahead and add some flux to the pins themselves. That's why I'm actually waiting to put on the charging port, because it's a lot harder to solder those pins with that charging port in the way. Go ahead and what I like to do is do the edges in the middle first, so it's already on there. I'll have to go back there and fix that. ahead and add a little more flux. Make it flow a lot nicer. Just definitely not doing the best job ever of soldering this, but I usually don't do it this far away. I don't really have a choice since I'm filming. Having a lot more trouble than usual. Alright, I think I'm done. I'm going to take one quick look at it off camera and make sure the pins are all seated correctly, as well as clean it with some IPA. Alright, yep, they look pretty good, so now clean it up with some IPA and then test it after that. Gonna let it air dry for a little bit and then come back to test it out. Alright, I'm back. So now, moment of truth. Hopefully it works. You know, reading the games and everything. So now the screen as well. Maybe it'd be easier to put the game first, which I'm going to be using Zelda: Link to the Past. Alright, reveal time. Hopefully it works. No, it's not reading the game. I wonder if it's just somewhat dirty. Go ahead and remove the game. Alright, so it's been about a couple of weeks now, and for some reason some of the video got cut out when I was testing it. I went ahead and cleaned the cartridge reader, and it still wasn't working. So I ultimately thought, yeah, the CPU is not sitting right. So I tried to reflow it a little bit, heat it up again, press it down a little, and that actually ended up messing up more. It was not turning on. So I was like, yeah, I decided what I'm gonna have to do is go ahead and order some stencils, like cheap on eBay or something, and get some solder paste and try to reball this the right way. And hopefully I can get it to work now after trying this out. But I'm gonna go ahead and start by taking the CPU chip off, and then I'll go from there. Alright, now that I have it all cleaned up, I'm going to try my best to center it, tape it, and then find a way so it won't move, and a way to tape it onto the cardboard. Pretty much a poor man's way of doing this, but since I don't have like I didn't buy a kit, but I'm hoping I'm able to do it with what I have. And this part I'll have to be doing it off camera because it's going to be a little difficult. Alright, I went ahead and centered it as best as I could. I'm pretty happy with how it is right now. Went ahead and taped it down with Kapton tape. And of course, as soon as I hit the heat on that, it's just, the tape's probably going to lift. So I'll have to put pressure with the tweezers. Probably use the bigger ones. And so what I'm going to do now is add the solder paste and then just like squeegee it over the actual chip. Go ahead and squeegee it out. Just gonna use this Wi-Fi card that doesn't work anymore. There, I think that's pretty good. Only thing left to do now is to solder it while I'm pressing down on the stencil. I think that worked. At least I'm hoping it did. Ooh, that's not good. So probably gonna have to fix a couple of points that still didn't turn out even. There's a couple of solder points that didn't really get, soldered on there, a couple of balls. So I'll go ahead and try to fix that off camera. Alright, there, I fixed some of the ones that were completely missing, some of the balls. Still not too completely happy about it. There's some that are like bigger than others. I'm not sure why, but probably gonna go ahead and test it out and hopefully it works. If not, I'll have to retry it again. Alright, so here goes nothing. I'm gonna go ahead and try heating it up. Alright, so I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go ahead and retry it. Alright, after letting it dry some, I went ahead actually to test it out off camera really quick, and it still wasn't working. I went ahead and tested it, and the screen was off color, so I knew that wasn't like the ribbon because I've seen that it works. So yeah, that meant the CPU chip was still not on right. I don't know if you remember me mentioning some of the reballing, like the balls were a little uneven. So I went ahead and redid it, went more slowly this time and more carefully, make sure everything was smoothly put on. And I'll go ahead and post a really quick short clip of that right here, right now. Alright, so yeah. And after that, I'm pretty more confident in it now. I went ahead and cleaned it with some isopropyl again. And well, let's see if it works now. Which I'm pretty confident in hoping it is, because I could not get it more perfect than that third time. But hopefully the third time is a charm. Alright, here goes nothing. Oh my gosh, yes. Guess this battery needs charging as well. But yes, it's working, and it's going into the game. Ah, what a relief. Let's go ahead and test out the buttons. Yes, it's working. I forgot to mention as well, I went ahead and reconnected these as well off camera. Because, wow, soldering the CPU, these just came easily right off. Unfortunately, some of this insulated plastic off the cables, or the wire, I mean, just kind of melted, but I made sure none of them were shorting. And there you have it. It's working now. So the only thing left to do now is to reinstall the charging port, and hopefully it charges as well. But yeah, it's actually playing games now. Let's see. I don't have any membranes with me, so there's no really quick way of testing out the D-pad and the A and B buttons. I'll probably test those out in the end. But yeah, really quick, I want to test out another game. Go ahead and try Zelda the Minish Cap. Yep, it's playing. Oh, that is so awesome. Dang, so far I'm really happy with this. That's the first time I reball any kind of chip. And I was so hoping it would work, because I mean, you can't really find these chips anywhere. And I just use a donor board, so it's not even the board I started out with, but I'm happy to have a fully working one, at least. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it and then move on to reapplying the charging port, which I will be using from this now new donor board. be taking that off and putting it on here. And this is the one that had that ribbon cable damage, or not ribbon cable, the ZIF connector damage underneath. And there's really no easy way of fixing that. In that case, this is actually easier. This is like nearly impossible. Alright, well, I'm actually going to start off by cleaning this solder off of the board, which currently there's no charging port to it, so. And those will have to be cleaned off if I want to put a new one on there. Alright, now that I have it all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and let it air dry it for a little bit. Then come back and test out the charging. Alright, so now I'm going to test it out. Hope for the best. Still turns on. Now let's see if that red goes away if I start to charge it. Ah, yes, it's charging, and they turn blue now. So yeah, this battery is definitely low. I just now tested it off camera on another micro, so it's definitely a low battery. Let's see if it turns blue for a second. Nope, battery's still low. There, it turned blue for a second. But since the battery's low, it turns red. Alright. So yeah, that's pretty much a fully working Micro motherboard now. So now what I'm going to do is test out these buttons. I have an extra set of membrane and some buttons. Well, not really extra. They're from my other microboard that I have just laying out, already taken apart, because I used it to diagnose other boards and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screen back on and the game in, and then get to test those buttons. Alright, well, let's go ahead and test it out. Just realized I haven't checked the volume buttons. Down works. The up button works too, but might need a little bit of cleaning later on. Alright, go ahead and push start. Be a lot easier if I put it in the front frame. I'm going to take that speaker off before I cause a short somewhere. right button's not really wanting to respond. Might just need some cleaning. That's probably why. Go ahead and turn it off first. Give that a clean. Now it's working. The right trigger might need to be cleaned. Alright, well, looks like I barely pressed down on this. Probably because it's causing a short underneath or something. But let's see if it still does it. Nope. So yeah, must be bumping, causing a short. But once installed, that won't be a problem. Alright. So yeah. Well, I guess that does it. I mean, so far, everything works as it should. Just that up volume button and the right trigger might need to be cleaned. But other than that, it fully functions, and the battery needs to be charged. But yeah, I'm really happy with this now. From it not working at all at first. So basically, a quick recap on everything I did. So my first initial plan was to fix this one with the torn off ribbon and try to find the problem that was causing the screen issue. Ultimately, I found that, it has permanent damage right there underneath, and it's basically sandwiched in the middle layer of the PCB, that water damage right there. So that was basically going to be impossible to fix. So I thought, why not? I know for sure this CPU worked, or the one that's currently on this one, that used to be on this one. So I thought, what if from a motherboard that previously, the CPU got fried because of a solder blob where the F2 fuse should go. I thought maybe, trying a working CPU on this one, see if it works after that. And yeah, it did. Not completely at first because I didn't have it on right, So I had to order a stencil for it. But after that, you know, a good clean install and everything, now it completely works. I have a fully working micro PCB now. Not too happy about that, but might, you know, buy some PCB glue or something and glue down those wires. But other than that, I have a fully working micro motherboard now. So that pretty much does it for this video. If y'all want to continue seeing content like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell button so you won't miss out any of my future content. Thank you all for watching.